The Acropolis Parthenon of Athens. How did the ancient Greeks lift 10-ton marble pieces 15 yards high in just 20 minutes? Building the Parthenon was technologically a pioneering feat and, of course, extremely difficult task for the ancient Greeks. They managed to extract, transport, and lift huge volumes of marble from Pendeli onto the rock of the Acropolis in the middle of the season. Now, Pendeli is about 20 kilometers. That's 12 miles north of Athens, in the surrounding mountains north of Athens. And how did they bring these 15-ton marble pieces? Well, they could have put them on horse and carriage, of course, but they didn't have paved roads at that time. Basically, they would have to go through what we had today called Theseus, an area of going up towards a beautiful, very rich area through Ekali, going to the Dionysus. That's where they got the marble from. Pendeli marble. Okay, very white. It's in the area of the Dionysus or Pendosa, very white marble. And that quarry is still open today. We pass it when we go down the mountain to go swimming in the Sea of Marathon. So that's where they got it from. Just above the plain of Marathon where the Battle of Marathon took place. So they brought it from there to Athens, and they managed to lift the huge volumes of marble from there and place it onto the rock of the Acropolis, which is high up. It's not a level place, in the middle of the season. Now, in the works of the Acropolis, the project here, the people working there were free citizens, settlers, also slaves, and marble craftsmen. The slaves, you have to realize, they had food and board, and they had health benefits. They had certain benefits, even though they couldn't vote. Now, and the marble craftsmen from Paros, Naxos, and also Asia Minor, which is today the west coast of Turkey. Athens became a construction site. Thousands of craftsmen who built the Parthenon in record time in 447 BC during the golden age of Pericles. That was about 110 years before 110 years before the time of Alexander the Great. So it was built 447 BC. Before that, there was another Acropolis there, bigger than this one, not as beautiful, but it was razed to the ground by the Persians. So they had to build a new one. That's what Pericles did in 447 BC. It was the largest Acropolis building began to be built, the Parthenon. Its construction was undertaken by the architects Iktinos and Kallikratis, while Phidias was the general foreman. Athens turned into a construction site with goldsmiths, bronze sculptors, marble sculptors, carpenters, wagons, wagon makers, rope makers, and pairs of oxen were employed to erect the Parthenon. It is said that among the thousands of workers was the Athenian philosopher Socrates, who was a stone cutter. He was a stone cutter. Now, the projects were completed within 8 years, because there's a lot of buildings up there, and actually, I don't even know how they could get carts up there. You could hardly walk up there. Really, it's very difficult. I mean, it's a pain. It's a pain. Okay, once you get up there, okay, it must have been in very, very high glory at one time, obviously. So, 8 years to complete. The Parthenon architect and restorer was Manolis Korres, the restorer of what's going on now. This is what he said. He said they were building at the same time on all four sides and on the inside. And this could not be done in other cities because it required very fast rates. Huge workshops, huge hordes of enormous forces of people, workforce. The stone road. The road from Pendeli quarry to the Acropolis, at least 20,000 tons of Pendeli marble were white. Pendeli marble is very white. Were used to construct the Parthenon. In order to be able to carry the marbles, the ancient craftsmen constructed the Lithagia street. Okay, or those Lithagoias. In other words, it's the street from where the stones were passed, carried, that is. Okay, the road started from the quarry at the Davelis cave in Pendeli and ended on the south side of the Acropolis. The journey took about 6 hours. It's estimated that there were about 20 wagons making the journey 10 times a day. The coordination was complex and flawless because everything had to get to the construction site of the Acropolis at the right time and not earlier, so that there is no overcrowding. When the marbles arrived, the workers had to raise them to the sacred rock, meaning the Acropolis, which is high up. Usually it's every place you have an Acropolis, even in Jerusalem. You notice that the Temple of Solomon was in the Acropolis, and it's high up, okay? You can't have it low down. It has to be high up so that the enemies have to go up to try and conquer it, and that's very difficult. So the marble arrived, the workers had to raise them to the sacred rock. Using only their physical strength, it was impossible for them to succeed. Thanks to the engineering knowledge and ingenuity, they discovered ways of lifting reminiscent of modern methods. They made makeshift cranes using huge rolling trolleys on both sides, which served as counterweights. And in addition to this method, the craftsmen also made wooden cranes. Archaeologists estimate that 8 large cranes and other smaller ones were working around the Parthenon, mainly inside the temple, utilizing the principles and laws of physics. They used appropriate levers and pulleys to multiply the torque. They were so well designed that they could lift a marble of 10 tons to a height of 15 meters, that's about 15 yards, within 20 minutes. Similar technical equipment was also used for the Parthenon restoration work in 1984. The Lavrion Technology Park has been hosting since 2017 a crane manufactured in France and served for 33 consecutive years. The restoration work, and it's a historic machine made by the architect and restorer of the Parthenon, Manolis Kouris. The historic Parthenon crane is on display in the Museum of Lavrio, which is around Sunio, and for educational purposes. And this is from Mechanitou Chronu from GR, and I've translated it from a Greek article. So basically now we know how it was done. Nothing high-tech, but very organized, thousands of people working on this, and the use of cranes and pulleys and torque. So obviously they knew, very well designed. They had pi and phi built into these temples, and very beautiful they must have been. How beautiful it must have been. Of course, the frieze of the Temple of the Acropolis from the Parthenon is in the British Museum in London. It was taken there, it was given or paid for by the British to the Turks, who had Greece at that time. Greece was enslaved, we know, almost 400 years. Greeks were slaves to the Turks, and they bought it and they have it housed in the London Museum. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.